Moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. There's no discharge in the war.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Shepherd's Pie. I'm David.
And I'm Tommy.
I gotta keep this guy in line. Every time we go to start an episode, he just starts spilling on the topic, and it's like, yo, save it for the episode, my guy. You're dropping gold on the floor, and then, like, we're always like, oh, yeah, no, it'll come back up during the episode. And then sometimes we don't get back to those things, and it's like, damn it, that was gold. And, like, I should just be hitting the record button sooner. I know it, but...
Immediately.
Yeah, right? As soon as I get this guy on the call, just start recording him. He's got a lot to say. So today, Tommy picked the topic. We're going in on Atlantis. We're going to talk about Atlantis. Just the basic, what's fact, what's fiction, what's known, what's mystery, what's implied, what people think, our takes, that sort of thing.
The musings.
Oh, you know what? I forgot my light. You go on a moment, Tommy.
Yeah, I am all about the ye olde Atlantis legend. There's something actually, I feel, foundational to kind of like our story is humanity, and at least the story,
if you
of
believe
Atlantis. In it. Yeah. I think it serves a purpose in our minds and kind of like our framework for the world. This idea of an ancient lost technology, ancient lost civilizations, which, I mean, it feels like we have evidence for that maybe mainstream academia and science doesn't want to acknowledge, or they'll just flat out dismiss any type of evidence about it. But it creates this understanding silently. And I mean, people are talking about it more now, but like for the majority of time, it was like a silent story that was kind of like of this grander history and this grander peoples that we came from. And then also like the idea of like a cataclysm that reshapes the world.
It fits. It all just fits so well.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. The idea with, like, the common accepted idea with Atlantis is that it's not real. It's mythology. The original story included gods and monsters. So we just, we take it with a grain of salt. It was more philosophical. It was more to tell this idea of a terrible, oppressive, super grand state that was taking over the world, or had already taken over most of the world, and they were stopped by a smaller state, which was Athens at the time. So it's like the Greeks building themselves up even through the story. So you could say, oh, well, maybe it is all just BS. It's just mythos. Doesn't make sense for the gods to have been ruling this city for eons and have this advanced technology and be wiped out by a flood. We're going to tell the whole story, but, like, it's crazy. So, of course, it's mythos. It's not real. It's fake. It's fantasy. Don't believe it. But when we have these questions like how were these things built? Who were these gods that every single ancient civilization reveres? They have stories that the gods were there. They were ruling over them. They were teaching them things. Like, how do you explain that? How do you explain that everybody has that same story, that, like, they're here in the flesh teaching us how to do stuff?
Yeah.
How does everybody just come up with that all together? Collective consciousness, maybe.
It could be something like that, but I don't think that holds as much weight is a kind of traveling or universal civilization of some type has. I think that carries more weight to me. That carries more probability. I mean, I do believe in some type of
Well,
base
because it
layer, like
answers our
people have
questions.
that. Yeah. Yes. Which is like a criteria. It's like a criteria, right? For like trying to understand the world.
Right.
Is like your answer. There has to be answers to your questions.
But my stance on this story is like, it's not 100%. You know,
Yeah.
this isn't exactly what was, and you do have to take away the names. You know, like it's not always like in this story, Poseidon had a bunch of kids, and one of his kids ruled this particular city because he was the firstborn. He was the great king. He got to rule the biggest city. And then his children ruled the other cities of the nation. So that makes sense to me in this, again, in the regard that like all these other nations had gods walking around.
Yeah. I see, like, when you're talking about this Athens thing too, with how they took out an attack from the Atlanteans. In Plato's book, he puts Atlantis as disappearing
Yeah, like almost all of a
9,000
sudden.
years before them, though, before even his life. It was 9,000 years before. So for the Atlanteans to have attacked Athens, I think that he was talking about, would it have been like an ancient Athens? So
Yeah.
like people, and I don't even think Greece was around then in
Yeah,
that
it's like a
capacity.
proto Athens. It was just
A
the
proto Athens.
ancient
Yeah,
people there at the time. Which, like,
absolutely, dude.
that part of the story I do think is like conflated to build themselves up. Like everybody is gonna tell their own story for their own means. And like they're using the names of their gods, right? They're using their nations that are around their area. But the story rings true when everybody talks of a flood. The story rings
Yeah,
true when everybody talks of a god. The story rings true when there's all these structures that nobody can explain how they're there.
yeah,
Like there's all these reasons that it's not something to just be dismissed right off the bat. Same with the Bible story, like we should look at these stories a little bit more seriously because our ancient history seems to be a bit more magical. And there could
yeah.
be a reason for that.
And
It could
it's
be magic.
reflected.
Yeah, it could be magic. It could be technology. And yeah,
It
you
could be
can,
both.
yeah, you look at like what we're doing today, and it's pretty magical. You were to
Yeah,
bring somebody, not even like a caveman, but somebody from just 50 years ago, 100 years ago, they would shit their pants. See what
yeah,
we're
they
doing
would.
now, and
A hundred
not
percent.
even just what we're doing as far as technology. We have what we're doing as people. You know,
Yeah,
between the Epstein stuff, between the government, the war, the trans, the like there's a lot
yeah.
going on.
The way that we're treating ourselves
Yeah, the
and
crime, the
society as
degradation
a
of
whole.
society. Yeah, the shit that's on TV, the music we listen
There would
to,
be some stuff that they would be like, "Oh yeah, we did that too."
fashion.
Like, yeah,
I mean, yeah, the whores are the oldest job, right?
yeah. That's
Like
that's kind of where I was going too.
prostitution is the oldest profession. Um, so yeah, we've always been terrible people. I'm gonna steal it. Cain and Abel were the third and fourth people on the planet, and Cain killed Abel. So
Yeah,
we couldn't even make it to four before we got a murderer. Like
yeah. Like
human,
it's rampant.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's not like we've gotten bad. It does seem worse than it was in our lifetime, even within the last few generations, maybe. Like we look back to the 30s and the 40s, well, the 20s to the 40s, Great Depression, World War II era, and it's like those were tough times. What our grandparents lived through or what our great grandparents lived through. That was really terrible, and it is just as tough now. People are comparing it to that, but it's like that's only because we did have a really nice period of time in between now and then, and really for all of history, it's been tough. It's been terrible. People have been horrible. You just got to know your history to realize that it's not really anything new. It's just sounding a lot more like, and our generation. I've said it before. Like, we've had a lot of end time stories within just our lifetime, but even throughout all of history, people always thought it was the end of the world. So I don't have that perspective. I don't know all of those instances where people would have been like, oh, this is fulfilling biblical prophecy. But it really feels like right now a lot of things are happening that are fulfilling biblical prophecy. And it really does seem like the end times are coming up.
Yeah, I don't deny that at all. It feels like there's like truths, I feel like, in the grander like archetype and like grander mind of people and of like society. And for everybody to have this oh, the world is ending type of sentiment, and it's built into how they even think of life or reality or the future or the past. It affects it. And so I feel like if everybody's been thinking that for a long time, it's part of us and part of like our subconscious and how we like look at the world. We don't even really know where it comes from. It could come from, I guess, maybe cavemen times, where we had maybe a whole tribe get wiped out by a pack of saber-toothed tiger. I don't know. Could be something like that. Or even just more recently in human history with like the wars and whole people getting there. It's the end of the world for them. But I also think that it kind of could be the future too. It could be from some major event that does happen, like the real end of the world, kind of us reaching into that and knowing that it's like a thing, and it kind of builds us. It builds how we view the world and how we move in it and how we think of it. And I think that there's something to be said too with this idea of Atlantis. Everybody's got these idea of like a golden age, that there's some golden age that's either approaching or it's in the past. And I think that comes from the Atlantis thing, because Atlantis had like this whole golden age before humanity, before all of like recorded history.
Right.
Atlantis had this golden age of technology and empire and art, all of it, all of it. And that kind of penetrates our like logos too, as
like Babylonian,
civilization.
Like the Tower of Babel. Those people, they were so advanced or so capable that they're building a tower to heaven. And God saw it as an actual possibility that they might achieve that. And he's like, well, if they achieve that goal, then nothing would be beyond their capability. So better put kaput to it. Split them up, confuse their languages, squash their tower.
That's kind of what happened too, right?
Right. So it's same time period, same sort of people, way back in the before four. Like, don't have to call them Atlantis, don't have to call them Tower of Babel Babylonians. Like, there was an ancient people before this flood that everybody, like, throughout all of history, everywhere talks about. Before these great catastrophes, before this, we'll call it a biblical reset for just like show vocabulary. That's what we're talking about. Like, it seems to have happened. Like, there seems to really have been people before us that were equally or more advanced in some sort of similar or different way. Call it whatever you want. It could be influenced by gods and magic. It could be just some sort of really realistic thing, like they had more knowledge and technology than what we give them credit for. They could have been surpassing us in technology and been highly advanced. Like, we don't know. We're not asserting anything. We're asserting that the stories all line up. So you can't just deny it, because it's everywhere throughout all of history without any of these people having any real connections other than like telling these stories throughout all of history, because it's their history and they had no other way to pass it down.
I think that's kind of like what Atlantis serves, right?
Yeah. It's
That
just
is kind of
another.
how it
It's
serves.
just another check on the box of like, oh yeah, that's a confirmation of this story
Yeah,
that we're building, and it's not the Atlantis story, but it's this ancient history story.
yeah.
And we're
It's kind of crazy how that works, right?
Yeah, and like we're never actually gonna know the whole story for true,
Yeah,
but we can get a good idea of what happened. So I guess let's quit rambling and get into what happened.
yeah, yeah.
So it starts out with our buddy Poseidon. Y'all know Poseidon. Poseidon was the one of three brothers that ruled the world. You know, you got Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades ruling the sky, the sea, and the underworld. And Poseidon was known for having a ton of kids. Actually, Zeus and Poseidon were both known for having a ton of
Yep.
kids. Hades was the only one that was keeping it in his pants for the most part, which is hard to believe. I think he did have some children. I don't remember, but he stole his
It's
wife.
very fallen angels.
Yeah, so she wasn't very partial to him. But yeah, very fallen angel. And like the Greek gods in our understanding of things wouldn't have been prime G gods, you know, they wouldn't have been uppercase G gods because they themselves were created by titans who they themselves were created by another thing. So if we're not to put a title on our faith, but just put all of our faith in the highest thing and say that whatever the highest thing is has actually had its best interest, like our best interest in its concern in its heart and its being, like it's actually looking after us. That's what my faith is. So I put my interest in his interest, try to align those things, and I call that Christianity because Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior. But call it whatever you want. That's the idea of what I'm trying to get across is like screw the definitions of the things. We need like a new title for what this is because it doesn't fit the narratives that they're trying to feed us. Like Christian church tells you one thing, science tells you another thing, history tells you another thing. Like, but it's all just a blend of the things, and it needs a new title so that we can get rid of the definitions and boundaries that people assimilate to that thing. And I don't know what to do about that.
I don't know. I don't know if that type of thing scares me. That type of thing scares me with it cuz we don't need new we really don't need new. People need to understand.
I want to get rid of the
what is
definitions.
going on.
I want to get rid of the definitions.
Then that makes room for new ones, and who's making them?
I suppose.
And that's the thing that worries me with it. But, I mean, I guess it could be done properly, but I don't know.
I think what is important is when you converse, when you tell the stories, when you are gaining new knowledge, we're all making it a point to express the definition, because when we use words, when we talk terminology, everybody has different definitions of these things in mind. Yeah. So even though we're communicating and understanding in the same language, we might not be actually getting our points across. We might not be understanding each other 100% because we're making up different definitions in our heads that then aren't even communicated with one another. We're not mind readers. And our language is floppy now.
Yeah. So being more expressive in the discussion then, and in the concepts of what you think is probably the actual key. Mm-hmm. Like people will just dismiss because of words, because of a single word. And it's like that's not necessarily even a problem with the word. That's a problem with the person's capacity to hold critical thinking discussions, open forum discussion with another human being. Like, you can't think you're perfect and your understanding of things is perfect. You got to understand that, like, just us as beings and like how language is, it's all flawed. So if you want to get your point across about the thing that you hold most sacred, you got to be able, like, it's the most sacred thing.
Right.
Wouldn't you want to have an open and very thorough and expansive discussion about that thing? Why would you want to kind of have
people get frustrated
small
when they have to explain themselves.
Yeah. Not everybody can have discussions like the Shepherd's guys,
Right.
you know?
But I
I
mean,
keep forgetting that. I
look,
forget that because there are a lot of people that just don't even have that in their life.
we have trouble staying on topic. We'll just
Yeah,
get off
yeah.
on a thing. So I said 2 words about the Greek gods and just got way off. So Plato wrote like several, I don't know what you would call them, epics, books, works,
Yeah.
tomes, if you will. And one is titled Timaeus, one is titled Critias. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. That's how I will. But he wrote more, of course, but these two involved Atlantis.
Yep.
So within those stories, he expresses that, first of all, this is a story passed down from a Egyptian priest that then would have been handed down through family lineage and then told to him by his uncle and written down by Plato in this work. So that's where the story comes from. An Egyptian priest through his family, and then he writes it down. So in this work, he says that Poseidon has 10 kids, and they're all twins. So he has 5 batches of 2 kids, and the firstborn is Atlas. Atlas is the one that holds the earth above him forever. But in this story, Atlas is given this kingdom to rule. Being the firstborn, he's the king, so he gets the greatest kingdom, which is Atlantis, or then becomes Atlantis, because Atlantis is named after Atlas.
Yep.
So, that alone makes a lot of sense because the Atlas Mountains are there.
The name of like the Atlantic Ocean too, and it's actually
I mean, yeah, throughout all of
Atlas.
history, this is what, like, how it's been considered to be. I gotta get back
I think
to
it's kind of interesting too
Wikipedia.
how he gets the Egyptian. It comes from Egypt, and it also comes from so the chain of transmission as I see it is number one is from Egyptian priests in the city of Sais.
Mm-hmm.
So these Egyptian priests, they hold this legend of Atlantis. And the Egyptian priests, I mean, they were the mages, right? They're like the
Right.
sorcerer,
Yeah.
like the dark sorcerers.
The
And
high
it makes
cabal, the
sense.
alchemists.
Yeah, yeah. And so there's two ways really of looking at it, where you could think of it as like they created and fabricated or like maybe even learned about it from like someone before them, this idea of Atlantis is kind of like a either control mechanism or some type of way to embody their own religion, like their own idea of the world and history.
Right.
Or it could be if Atlantis was a real place. I mean, we get the pyramids, and they happen in South America. They happen in like even in Asia. They happen
Right.
in Egypt, and there's even pyramids in the ocean. But for the sake of all this, when Atlantis falls, it would disperse like it seeded other civilizations, and Egypt being one of them is kind of the idea.
Yeah.
So
I think
if
they
it
all would
starts
have
in
been one of them.
Egypt, yeah, yeah, and it's kind of interesting that like their priests and their occult sect, their magi, are the
Right.
ones that held the information about it, and then it finds its way to Plato.
Right. So,
Very interesting.
yeah, for sure. So, it's then told that his other siblings are given these other kingdoms they're all part of the same country, the same grander kingdom. So though Atlantis is its own city, it's like the hub or the capital of this greater nation of a ton of cities. So everywhere,
Yeah.
like Tommy's saying, everywhere these pyramids are could be subsect cities of Atlantis. And it makes
Yeah.
sense because everywhere these pyramids are, they talk about their gods being there in person, shape shifting, having tons of children, all these monsters, like mystical, magical things here on the planet Earth that we just dismiss as mythos. But
Because it's not around today,
because yeah,
but
because
it
we don't,
doesn't mean that it
yeah,
wasn't.
we don't have any actual history. Nobody wrote anything down. We don't have anything to prove what was going on back then, but we do, and then we just dismiss it all. They tell us what was
Yeah.
going on back then, and then they dismiss it all. Sorry, it had to be passed down through generations for you to get the story. Sorry, you have to take it with a grain of salt because all the names are different and the locations might not match up. But
Yep.
that is what it is. So goes the story that Atlantis grows and grows and grows, and they're taking over the majority of the world essentially. And in their growth and their success and their prosperity, they become debaucherous and heathenous and monstrous and evil and wicked. And so the the great city of pre-Athens, whatever that would have been, it stands up to them and defeats them. And in the matter of a day, they're wiped out by a flood. And I don't know how. I'm gonna have to read more of the story, figure it out. I don't know how the Athens defeating them in battle coincides with a great flood, but them being an evil city coincides with our biblical narrative of a flood because the world was so wicked they needed to be wiped out.
It was like they were good for a while, is the kind of general understanding of the Atlantis thing, is like they were awesome for a while, like a pinnacle type place they had insane technology and arts and spirituality and understanding and creative power, but
Yeah,
they kind of
talk about
devolved over time.
talk about the tech.
The tech, now this is something crazy because I was just doing some type of uh, kind of peripheral, just listening to some stuff on Atlantis, and they're talking about how potentially, because this is stuff that's kind of channeled, which we might get into at some point in
Yeah.
this episode or maybe other episodes, but there's like different lines where we get information about Atlantis, and one of them is like people channeling from occultists, straight up occultists.
Bring it up. You brought him up in a previous episode. We'll get into it in this one.
Yeah, we have Edgar Casey. He's one of them. Helena Blavatsky, she's another one. And there's a couple more that
I didn't
don't
know there
have.
were more. I just
Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones, but I think
in my research I only
don't
found Edgar
remember.
Casey.
Yeah, there's Edgar Casey. There's a couple. I wish I knew which one was the root, but they all kind of echo the same thing.
Yeah.
They all have this same echoing.
All right. Well,
And in her work, so I'm kind of referencing at the moment, Helena
no,
Blavatsky.
no, because Plato talked about the crystals and shit too.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, there's
Yeah.
this.
So
Okay,
go on,
so
go
there's
on,
just
fam.
this
I'll look up this
general-
shit about the channelers.
Yeah.
While you're going on
Yeah.
about that.
The crystal thing is crazy because there's the idea with I guess with Plato too, of these crystals that they had. They used them as their kind of energy source for the empire, for their civilization. And it was a created crystal to house a kind of life force energy. So the very energy, the very force of nature that is the life-giving principle inside of all things.
Exactly
The
like the Disney movie Atlantis.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
think they're not feeding crazy ancient
Yeah.
cult shit to your kids? Like
They are.
why is Disney going shot for shot exactly what was going on in Atlantis?
Yeah, that's crazy. It is crazy. That these crystals, I mean, is it possible? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. But they were harvesting it, and there's the idea is that these Atlanteans are some kind of very spiritually connected peoples, where instead of being as technologically advanced as we are now in a very materialistic way, very logical way, and like scientific, they were more tapped into the spiritual side of reality. And so they didn't really need to kind of have schools teaching you math and literature and history and all this stuff. They had a very keen intuition, very keen psychic prowess, even as children. And the idea is that they were a very psychic society, very tapped in spiritually. They could kind of work with reality, with
Right.
their consciousness, and will things into existence.
Right. So when we're talking
So,
about an advanced technology, it could be
yeah,
something like that. Like it's not
yes,
technology, it's more in tune with nature where you can harness like there's this idea of
subtle
our
forces.
perceptions influence reality. So if you have a totally different perception of the fabric of reality, maybe you could manipulate it in a different way.
And
Or
like if you have a group of people that think that
yeah,
way.
yeah, you all channel together and manipulate a thing. Or more literally, like, what if the earth was just more magical back then and they could literally channel, or there was a specific rock that was channeling the energy of the universe or just the planet into itself and they could harness it like a thing?
Yeah.
Like, whatever, like some sort of ancient technology. We're not talking our version of technology. That's why it's ours. Like they had something
Yeah.
else clearly. That's why the ruins that we find don't look like ours. It's not refined metal. It's not circuit boards. It looks like circuit boards, but it's all rock and stone, and but it's perfect and it's huge and it's directed at the stars. Like they're clearly way more tapped into with what was going on here.
Tapped in. Yes. That's a really good way of looking at it too. Tapped in. They're tapped into reality. They're tapped into what influences what.
Like
They're tapped into this stuff.
instead of looking at Atlantis, let's look at all the ancient societies we do know about. Like the Egyptian pyramids are pointed at stars.
Yep.
The like Aztec pyramids are perfectly built to be so acoustically resonant that you can clap and it sounds like a bird, or you can whisper at one end and even if there's a huge crowd of people you can still hear the person at the other end. Or when you're up at the top where the sacrifices would have been done, you can hear that person from anywhere within the entire arena. Or even now, still to this day, even though we're apparently hurtling through space, the steps up the pyramid themselves show upon the face of the rock a shadow that looks like Cthulhu, or not Cthulhu,
Uh
Cthulhu,
Kukulkan.
Kukulkan. They're dragon gods. So we've talked about dragons. We've talked about shape shifting Nephilim
Yeah.
deities. Like that's what this is. This would have been one of the sons of Poseidon. This would have been one of the like whatever story you're telling. That's literally what is going on there. And same with
Yeah.
Egypt. We know of the polytheistic deity or the polytheistic pantheon that they had going on there. And they all had them. They all had a bunch of gods. And what other places are there? Because we don't know too much about freaking China
There's
and Asia,
China.
but they were out there.
There's China. There's even India, dude. India is
Yeah,
actually one of
India's
the
gnarly.
craziest
I
places.
do know more
To
about
be
India. So like
honest.
their pyramids look 3D printed.
Yeah.
They have spiraling pillars that some of them still to this day are free and spin. Yet they're holding up this
Mechanical.
giant they're holding up this giant temple, and they appear to have been built in the same way that they resemble like sound waves
Yeah. Yeah. Cymatics.
and like jet engines
Yep.
and also like crazy depictions of gods and stories and animals that shouldn't exist, and or wouldn't have been in that area, or how would they have known about it? They got
You know those
they got carvings
those
of
like
spaceships and things.
Yeah, for like legitimately they do too. That's
Temples
wild
just
stuff.
etched into the ground. Like it looks like it was just laser engraved from the top, a temple
Yep.
etched into the ground, or the side of a cave. Like
Yeah.
gnarly
Just
shit in
they it's
India.
like they were it's like they were almost like scraping away, like they would see the, you know, that saying with carving like marble, like people who make statues,
Yeah,
how they
like
see
it's
the
in there.
statue inside of the material and they're like, I just need to set it free. It's
Hmm.
the same principle with Indian temples. It's like there's a mountain and they're like, I see a temple in that mountain, I
For
just
real.
need to set it free,
For
and
real.
they get rid of the mountain.
Yeah.
Like that's like the most inefficient way to build a temple. It's insane.
Right.
The cymatics though, that was really cool. That whole thing going on there. Someone I seen some videos about it too, where they're like, if you take the sound waves that you see, you know how if we're using programs to understand sound, you're usually getting like a line graph,
Mm.
and it goes from like left to right and then up and down, and you get like squiggles. Well, if you were to take that and turn it into a three-dimensional expression of a sound, and then you were to put it next to a one of these pillars, it's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they froze sound in stone, in material, and it's actually a sound that if you were to put that 3D shape of the pillar that's in the temple into an audio software, you might be able to get like a sound that it could actually be like reverse engineered to create that same pillar if we had like some type of harmonic material making technology, right? Like that's the crazy thing that I feel there's so much hidden within ancient architecture, ruins,
Yeah.
temples, pyramids, all of the nature
Yeah. I would love to be
that
able to check some of it out.
is just amazing. It's so freaking cool.
Totally off topic, but you know they got a growing rock in India? Like
Now that's
recorded. They've got pictures of what this rock used to look like and what it looks like now, and it's just a boulder that keeps growing. It's crazy.
so
They
it's not like a stalagmite or
Nope,
stalactite,
it's like a boulder on the ground.
and it's just been growing.
It's growing, and they
That's insane.
because they are the way they are, they revere it as some sort of godly thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
that's
which
incredible.
I mean, it is. It's
All
just a
right,
fallen angel thing.
literally, literally, man. I mean, their pantheon is insanely expansive upon stuff like that. To me, it really does speak to the narrative. But uh, so I was talking about the crystals.
Yeah. Back on
I was talking
topic.
about the crystals. So they're harvesting this life force energy and they're putting it into these crystals, and they're using these crystals to power their cities, to power their craft, to keep the lights on, and to keep
Weapons.
the wheels moving,
Conquer
and for
nations.
weapons. Yes, and for weapons. So the properties of these crystals, like they kind of warp reality. They
Yeah.
kind of have this ability to do wacky shit
Yeah, would you
that you wouldn't really be able to, like, you like with our stuff. What do we have with nuclear energy? We get radiation. But when you use life force energy
Yeah.
as your power source, you get gravity interruptions, you get electromagnetic anomalies, you get lightning and crazy weather effects. You get the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, right.
You get the Bermuda Triangle. Are some
Potentially.
of these crystals still around?
Yeah.
I mean, you had a theory about Skinwalker Ranch with it when
Yeah.
we were talking about it before the episode. Like,
Yep.
go into that. That's a crazy thing.
Well, so I mean, I thought you were gonna go more into the Bermuda Triangle thing. So
I will. I will.
either of these places, there could be remnants of, because they talk about crafts, right?
Hmm.
Everybody talks about ancient aliens. So what if all of those crafts, those ancient aliens, what if that was just us flying around? What if they had these sort of crafts? Like you see it in the Disney movie. What if Disney knew a little bit more than what we're giving them credit for? Like, you're harnessing the energy of the planet. Maybe you could just fly a rock through the sky. And, but like Tommy said, and I wanted to tack on at the beginning, like, what if you're using this energy of the planet for negative gains, for self-enrichment? You're not using it to better the planet. You're just using it to take and to be gluttonous and heathenistic. So, yeah, it's going to have some negative side effects, like you would see at Skinwalker Ranch. So at Skinwalker Ranch, we've talked about, they've had a radar out there. They find that under the ground there's a gigantic mass that seems to be throwing out like EMP pulses or like some sort of weird waves. I don't remember exactly what it was anymore.
There's like
go
even
watch our
gamma radiation.
Go watch our Cryptids Part 1 episode where we talk about Skinwalker Ranch. Yeah, it's giving off gamma waves. But then also they find like weird material, like two metals fused together that would not be able to naturally occur in that sort of way. So, like,
crazy.
The question arises, what is down there? What creates those anomalies that happen at Skinwalker Ranch? Maybe something like this. Or at Bermuda Triangle, like, everybody's always questioned what the hell's going on there. Why is it just like a blackout zone for technology?
Yep, and there's crazy stuff that happens, like some accounts from people that fly through it and survive, because not everybody crashes and dies. I mean, there are shipping lanes and stuff like that do pass through some of the outskirt areas of the Bermuda Triangle, so not directly through the heart of it, but they kind of do pass through sections of it. And there are people that do kind of survive through some of these anomalies, and some people talk about like time skips. They talk about like time skips. They talk about like as we were talking about with the electromagnetic interference, like their instrument panels go nuts, but like somehow they're still flying. It's almost like there's also the idea that Atlantis sunk, and I mean, in my mind, these guys were smart. They were very smart, and they may have been like shitheads. They might have been starting to go bad and turn into like dark magicians, start going sour. And that might have actually like upset the balance of like the world of many different things, and it would lead to their downfall, to like these cataclysms, to this flood.
Right.
By God or by otherwise, whatever I guess you want to believe. But to me, like, even today, we have this idea that the world's about to explode. And I mean, it very well could. So what are the people that are super in the know and wealthy enough? What are they doing? They're building bunkers. They're building, like, they're building, like, arcs to survive it. They already know it's coming. So they built an ark.
Yeah, they're trying to get
now,
off
why
planet.
wouldn't Atlantis do that, right?
You would think.
And so you hear about these underwater alien bases all the time. And there's theories about the Bermuda Triangle, like this is like a defense mechanism, almost like a shield that is protecting the area from us going in there and discovering this city. And I mean, that could be Atlantis. They could be using their crazy little life stones to power their little civilization underneath the water there. Maybe they intentionally sunk their island and they went underwater. Who knows? I don't necessarily know, but
my
there's
thought
that theory
is
too.
Our modern day, don't push the red button weapon is the nuke, right? So everybody's scared to escalate the war because you don't want to get nuked. So back in the day, if you're harnessing earth power, whatever your ultimate weapon is, don't want to use it. It's pretty dangerous. It's going to wipe everything out. What if that's how we get the mud floods? That's how we get the asteroids. That's how we get the flooding. I'm not going to say that it was man because I do believe that it was God. But,
these are cool, fun theories, though.
Maybe God works through man. He works through angels. Maybe he works through fallen angels. Like, they're all subservient to him. So
Yeah.
maybe these angels that are warring bring about this biblical great reset at the behest of God. He's like, fine, you guys are going to
Yeah.
fight. You're going to fight so hard, you wipe everybody out. You're wiping each other out. Like, it's done. It's
And we're going to
over.
start over again.
Right. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I think I'm not putting all my faith in that, because I put all my faith in God. But
Yes.
it would make sense that, like, if you had some other type of technology, you would have some other type of weapon. And, like, the mud flood, most of all, some sort of resonance, some sort of shake. You bring the liquid up and the sand up and sink the buildings, and I don't know. But
And you melt the stone. You do,
yeah,
like, there's all sorts of different things. And, like, that's insane, because it made me think, as you were even saying that, I almost thought you were going to go in this direction, where, like, with the Bermuda Triangle, I'm still stuck on that too. But it's like, what if that's actually, you know how with a nuclear bomb, you even said, like, our nuclear bombs,
yeah,
what happens when you drop one of them?
yeah. You get radiation
You
fallout.
leave radiation fallout. So what happens if you use a life force crystal bomb
Right.
or super weapon in an area? What happens? Does it permanently fuck the reality or the expression of how like life
Right.
radiation moves through a zone? Does it create anomalies? Is that what the Bermuda Triangle is? There's other triangles around the world too. There's one
Are they
in
always triangles, or are they different shapes?
Alaska. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so I mean, and who knows, maybe that could be an expression of the radiation as well. The size of the bomb, or maybe the shape of the crystal influences the geometry of the field where these anomalies happen, dude. Like, who knows?
There's one for each prime geometric structure.
Maybe. each one had devastating impact its own way.
You go there, and it's not actually like the remnants of an old world nuke. It's like an Infinity Stone type of thing. You collect them all, and you get the power to drop
put
the
them in a
weapon
gauntlet.
again. It's like a Dragon Ball Z thing. You know, you use the weapon, and then they go up and disperse, and you got to collect them all again to create the weapon. But in
That's so
in
funny.
each zone, in each shape, each triangle where these hot spots of happenings are going down, you go collect that piece of thing and put them all together, and you get something great, or evil, or wicked. Who knows? Man, what a story! Somebody go
Yeah,
write
it's
that.
cool.
Somebody don't. I want to write that. I'm gonna put that in my story. I got a
There you go,
story
there
we
you
need
go.
to talk about sometime, so that nobody can.
Yeah,
steal
that'll
it.
be a fun thing too, for sure.
Yeah. I forgot all about that. That could be a whole episode.
Yeah, and it's cool because you're always able to add to that story. So it's
And-
like it's almost like a living symbolic uh metaphor for this reality.
Right. And
a
essentially,
way.
by
Like,
by
the story's
doing
cool.
it on here, it would patent it in some sort of way. It would create it and manifest it in some sort of way. So then it
It would
exists and it's
put it out
mine.
for people
Yeah.
to like know that you were like at least that you were the one to come up with it first publicly anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, fuck that. So, that's the technology. So, the story, there's a lot more to the story, I guess.
There is.
Like, there's this description of Atlantis that it's made with white, red, and black stones. That it was between the gates of Hercules or Heracles. I don't know, more of the goings on. But I guess we could get on to the next point, which is basically that it fell out of topic. It fell out of popularity. Like, Plato's works weren't greatly talked about for the following centuries, even. Like, so the idea is that Atlantis would have existed around 10,000 to 9,000 BC. So about 12,000 years ago. Like we keep saying, it's all like
Yep.
6,000 to 12,000 years ago. And
Younger Dryas, the flood,
Yeah.
that type of cataclysm that restarts
Yeah.
civilization.
so during the Dark Ages, during the medieval period, from Plato was what, 500 BC, 400 BC,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So from literally 400 BC, maybe you could give him some time. Say he was talked about for a little while, maybe like till 200 BC. Let's say till Jesus comes around, because nobody's talking about Plato anymore after Jesus comes around. He's the hot topic. For the
Yeah.
last 2,000 years, nobody was talking about it until more modernly. It was 1800 or 1700 that what's his face wrote that book. Let me pull it up.
What's his face?
I'll
I
cut this
wanted
out.
to I wanted to kind of go back to the medieval period, like uh just before, super quick before we jump onto these
Yeah.
guys. Like, it did surface again, right? So it was kind of somehow people started getting a hold of Plato's writings, and they started kind of taking it as literal and real, because kind of the way that mainstream academia and scholars think of Atlantis, the way that Plato wrote it, is supposed to be some type of metaphor. But when it surfaces back up, regardless if Plato thought it was real or not, uh, they started taking it as literal too. So it's crazy how it
What
comes about
what
after
period
a
are you
fashion,
talking about? Like what age?
the medieval period. So it says that some ancient writers, they were treating it as real, and some dismissed it as fiction, but there wasn't any like independent confirmation of Atlantis in the
Right.
medieval period. Obviously, I mean, really, what the heck? You think that they're anything we have today, we're going to be saying like, yeah, they found freaking Atlantis back
So
then,
I
even
could
if they did have something.
I couldn't find anything from the medieval period. What I found was that there was like a rediscovery of Plato in the medieval period, because like
Yeah,
you get the Renaissance after that, and in that people are getting into arts. So they're going back into history and looking for inspiration.
yeah,
But this book that really apparently reignited the Atlantis discussion was Atlantis, the Antediluvian world. Antediluvian, sorry.
yeah. Yep.
Atlantis, the Antediluvian world.
Ignatius Donnelly.
Yep. Ignatius wrote this book in 1882. And that's when it really took off again, because he exerted all of Plato's claims as truths. So people would have read this book, and like any other fictional work that is claimed as a truth or not clarified as a story, people might run with it. We've seen it happen time and time again. I love the story of War of the Worlds, because it
Yeah.
came on the radio and people freaked the fuck out because they didn't realize it was a radio story. They thought aliens were invading. So, this guy did believe it was real, and that probably has a lot to do with the previous 200 years since the Renaissance, people talking about it. And he's like, you know what? This must be true. But also at the same time, because you're talking about these people that were channeling, different aspects of Atlantis, because each person's
Yep.
channeling experience was a little bit different. The first one that I found, at least, was this Helena Blavatsky. And she lived from 1883 to 1891, but I don't see when she would have had these channeling experiences. So I don't know if she was channeling before the other guy wrote the book. I don't know if he wrote this book that became popular and then she started channeling. They seem to coincide with one another timeline wise.
Yeah.
But
Chicken or egg on that one.
also within the same time period, you get Edgar Casey.
Yeah.
So
He's like a Nostradamus guy. That guy was nuts. There's so much to talk about with him. He's almost like an entire episode unto himself.
right.
But he did have the channelings that a lot of them were Atlantis related. He had thousands of predictions and readings and psychic like future tellings, and even like he was really big into telling people about their past lives. And a lot of the people that would come to him for these were, at the time, because not a lot of people could travel, the wealthy were kind of the ones that were traveling heavily, and it would be like the wealthy and the like higher ups from around the world. Once they learned about this guy, they started coming from all over the corners of the earth to get their like futures and their pasts and like what
Mm.
they should do with certain things, because he was insanely accurate, like insanely accurate. And he would sleep, and while he was sleeping he'd be like awake and like talking, and he would have people like writing down what he would say while he was sleeping, and he would be like channeling these different accounts. But out of like thousands of his uh like predictions and readings, there's like 700 or more that are like about Atlantis. And a lot of the people that he would give them their like past life reading, he would say that they were like from Atlantis, like that they had connections to Atlantis, and like so through these you would get kind of ideas about the Atlantean civilization and like the roles that people would have. They had a priesthood, they had like a caste system, they had like roles of society, where like you would be either like a worker in this type of capacity, but they weren't like the same type of workers as we are. It's not like you're going to work and hammering on something. It's like you would go into the arts, and like through the arts you were able to contribute massively into the society, not just because of inspiration, but also because like math would express itself through their art, and concepts of the world would express themselves through their art. And it was like a learning thing too, and also like a creative generative process, the art that the Atlanteans were doing, as far as kind of how you could extrapolate some of these readings that was going on with Edgar Casey. He's a very interesting guy. A lot. I would love to go into some of his other predictions, because he predicts. He has predictions about. I mean, there's like aliens type deal. There's the uh, Atlanteans, and then he has end of days predictions. All sorts of stuff. He was a big deal for a while. Very big deal.
So I need to make a correction because Plato didn't actually talk about the crystals. He did talk about like advanced technology and a power that was described as like a divine power, but never actually crystals. And then I guess it was Edward Casey and these other channelers, like Donnelly wrote a book. He didn't channel, but Edgar Casey and Donnelly really popularized the idea of the crystals,
Yeah,
the firestones
these
they called
crystals,
them.
man.
And also, this is
Freaking
where
nuts.
orichalcum comes from. So orichalcum is a reoccurring mythological metal that appears in a lot of video games and media and stuff, like fantasy, because it's the metal that the walls of Atlantis were clad in.
Ori Kelk.
So I think that's pretty interesting. But so it seems like this period of time, these like 1880s to 1920s, was when these occult writers, like occult channelers and writers, were repopularizing the story of Atlantis and putting their own spin on it. So then we now in the modern day have this really conflated story of Atlantis that is, well, a retelling of everything through the modern media lens. So you get Hollywood's story of Atlantis every time, unless you want to do your history research, and then you might get Edward Casey's story, or what was the other guy's name? Ignatius Donnelly.
Ignatius
You might get
Donnelly.
that story. Or if you really go back and look, you can see everybody's interpretation of Plato's story, or you can actually go and get Plato's story. Like,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different ways to get the story. We tried to bring you as much as we could, but I mean, now in the
There's still
modern
more
day,
being
it's
like told about it.
yeah, like now in the modern day, it's like they want to tell you about it. They want to put it in your face, but then they want to tell you it's fake and a myth. But then it's like you see people coming out like Graham
Hancock.
Hancock, thank you, talking about the Eye of the Sahara being where it was actually located, where Atlantis would have been, and talking about how there's the red, white, and black rocks there. There's the gates of Hercules, or the what was it, the arms of Hercules, gates of Hercules.
The Gates of Gibraltar, which
No,
is
no, because people argue, and I would actually believe that it's not the gates of Gibraltar, because only until somewhat recently have the gates of Gibraltar been referred to as the pillars. There it is, the pillars of Hercules. There actually, throughout all of history, have been plenty of pillars of Hercules. There's been a lot of different ones.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of different reason to believe that the Eyes of the Hera could have been where Atlantis was. It does appear to be geographically washed out by what could have been a great flood. It does seem to have these concentric circles that the city is described to be structured as. We forgot to talk about that. The city is like circles of land within water, 3 concentric circles. I'll throw up an image. There's plenty of art out there about what people have
Yeah.
interpreted it to look like.
The way that Plato describes the city, it's that it has the different layers to it, and the buildings are all kind of clad within. There's the different metals. Outer wall is brass, the inner wall is tin, and the citadel is the orichalcum stuff,
Right.
like fiery reddish light.
Yeah, that's crazy.
The Temple of Poseidon was covered in it. So I mean, you can see that like you get the with the concentric rings, you get this like almost like color scheme that goes on with the layout of the city of Atlantis. But don't we also get told like this idea that Atlantis wasn't just a city, it was an empire, and they had reach across like the kind of world, really. So it feels like wherever they had settlements, maybe the Sahara, where this eye is,
Right.
was a settlement, and they kind of have like a layout that they use for their like cities. It's like a very
Yeah.
defensible thing. It's
Yeah,
like
maybe it
in the water
wasn't
too.
the Atlantis. Maybe it was like a
Yeah,
subsect of it. And like
and Atlantis.
yeah, the Atlantis was out in the ocean and it did sink. Maybe.
Maybe, dude.
That's definitely reasonable. But
There's like a
the
bunch of
idea,
places, right?
I mean, yeah,
That people have thought were Atlantis.
yeah,
So it's like,
for sure.
what the heck?
But with the idea that like the story comes through the Egyptians, and so maybe the Atlanteans that did know about it were able to flee. They got to Egypt, and that's how the story survives. Makes sense
Yeah.
because the Eye of the Sahara is like right there, kitty corner.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
I mean, not right there, but right there enough.
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that Edward Casey claims that there's divine Atlantean knowledge beneath the Sphinx. And
Ooh.
that's one of those places where Egypt just will not let you go. They won't let you
Can't,
check it out.
dude. Can't do it. Yeah, he's the one. Yeah, that story's insane because he channels it and he says that there's a staircase underneath the paws of the Sphinx, and it's a
And they
channel that leads down to this room, and the room is blocked by light. It's got a barrier of light that is impassable. You can't bazooka through it. You can't freaking welder cut through it. You can't dig around and find your way in. And it shields the records of the antediluvian world. It shields the records of Atlantis and kind of the history of it and some of the tech.
right.
Some of the tech. And that, yeah, so Casey's the one that came up with that
Yeah.
through channeling.
Yes, this is Edgar Casey.
But there's some ground seemingly to it if we can't check it out, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure, dude.
Like, there's a lot of shit that Egypt is just. And I understandably, you know, people are going to assert that it's a historic site. We can't just dig everything up. We can't go in there and
Yeah.
remove everything. Okay, yeah, I agree. But if there's reason to believe, we have historical precedent to lead us to say there might be something there, we should probably look.
Yeah,
Like,
investigate it for sure.
we could look in a cautious, protective way. You know, we've got the ability to shoot radar and make scans. Like, how did we not? Like, we did scans of under the pyramid, but we can't do scans of under the Sphinx. What's
You know
that
what else
looking
we have
like?
the ability to do? We have the ability to, I mean, restore too, right? I mean, let's if we have to dig a hole
Yeah,
and uncover this hallway because it's buried,
yeah. There's
then we dig a hole, and then when we're done investigating, we put shit back.
if you
and
think
we
it's
say,
so
"All right, we
precious,
did it."
look at all the time in history where they've moved and destroyed and rebuilt and fixed all of these Egyptian monuments.
Yeah.
You would be astounded to learn, and I'll throw up some images of how a lot of it's fake, a lot of it's repositioned, a lot of it's bullshit. Like it's not all real. It's not all exactly as it was. It's not all correct.
Yep. Very, very, very true.
To that point, they think that potentially the Sphinx head wasn't as it originally was. They think back in the day of Atlantis, or this previous ancient Egypt, that it was actually like a Jekyll head, or like Anubis, and
Yep.
it would be,
Or a lion.
yeah, or a lion, which would be more in proportion with the body because the head's kind of small for the body.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You got anything else, Tommy?
I think that that's a very good initial episode into Atlantis, and not just Atlantis. We get these other figures that pop up that are extremely interesting,
Yeah.
and very foundational to a lot of our modern lore upon the subject. We get the Edward Casey, Helena Blavatsky, these like occultist, psychic, medium people that
Right.
have kind of shaped modern culture and perception
Yeah.
of these
Like-
things.
I get the story's a little bit grander, but why would Disney not base it on the actual historical context instead of
Yeah.
some weird occult channeling whatever BS, you know? Like the Atlantis story, the movie from Disney, sounds a lot more in line with Edgar Casey's version than Plato's version.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that, and it's because Disney was an occultist. Like Walt
Yep.
Disney himself was an occultist. So they look up to and revere and practice and replicate what the previous occultists before them did.
Yep. From that golden age of occultism, that's really what Atlantis symbolizes for them. That's the place I think that
Babylon.
was like yes, it's
Like, it's
kind
all
of
the
this
same.
Babylon.
Like these
I
these
agree.
ancient people that knew their lower G gods personally. They were there from time to time teaching them, giving them technologies, taking care of them, sometimes exerting wrath over them, making them war with one another. Like whenever you see these, oh, it's just myth, it's their stories to cope with or understand reality. No, take that a little bit more seriously because there seemingly were Nephilim. We have precedent to believe the
Yeah.
angels fell, they had children, there were Nephilim, and they would have tried to and most certainly ruled over man. They would have given them technology. They would have manipulated and exerted their will over and against one another. There's no reason to doubt it as much as common narrative would make you want to doubt it.
Yeah.
And it's all the same biblical story that we're trying to
Yep.
bring to you. So
It lines up.
Yeah, so read your Bible. We're coming to you with more Bible episodes. We're doing a different format. I explained it, and actually, it's probably going to be our next episode. So I'll have explained it twice. Forgive me for explaining it again in our next episode. But we're doing a new format with our videos. Hope you like this one. Again, I'm going to talk about it in our next episode like it's a new thing. But check this out. This is pretty dope. Hope you guys like it. Let us know if you do. I'm talking as far as this new thing for those of you who are just listening. We got a different video style. It's a little bit closer, so we're a bit blurrier, and I freaking hate it. But it does look a little bit more professional and clean. We don't got the black borders. It's zippy.
So you should check it out on YouTube.
Yeah, for real. Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. Follow us, like us. Subscribe, share us around most of all, because we need some support. We're still a growing channel. We're trying to bring you as much content as we can, but I want it to be quality instead of quantity. So we're dialing it back to one episode of like content or rant or whatever a week, and then one episode of Bible, because we want to bring you more Bible, and that takes less out of me. And then when we have something that's more relevant or more pressing as far as like time, we'll just drop those episodes. So you might get a bonus from time to time. So it won't even be too much less than it was. It'll just be slightly different structured. I don't know how to put that, but
That's good.
We friggin' love you guys for checking us out and hanging with us for this long. I don't know. I got nothing else for you. Get the heck out of here. Join us on our next one. See you next time.
Peace.